Okay, so I'll see when I get to upload this video, but it's a bit of a catch up and a recap as it's been a bit since last time I did one of these. Last time I did it was about 2 weeks ago when it was just before going off to London-Edinburgh-London. However, if you hadn't seen some of the cycling news and some of the other bits and pieces, probably not. It was a bit different to what we expected. So last time I did a casual ride. I was enjoying kind of being in fitness and in form and being ready for going off to Lel. So this is way after the Lel event finished, because today's currently the 14th or something of August. So a week after. But I haven't really had a chance to come in and record and say what my story was. So before I went away, I was in good form, feeling good. So on the Friday, we then jumped in the car, went down to London, stayed with my in-laws, and as there was also a 40th birthday going on and all the rest of it, it was slightly different. So in terms of the registration was on Saturday, real good buzz in Writtle, where there was a lot going on in terms of people, all the internationals arriving. There's lots of event people there, all setting up and all the rest of it, which was fantastic. It gave you a real good community feel and a really kind of a real buzz about the excitement of starting doing London-Edinburgh-London. But as we'll find out, we didn't quite get to Edinburgh. So after doing that, kind of like the rest of the family went off and celebrated their 40th birthday. Of course, I wasn't going to go off drinking and all the rest of it the night before doing LEL. So I was looking after the kids and then sloped off to bed early, before then getting up at 4 a.m, I think it was, something like that. Then riding into London, because my start wave was 5:45 at Chatham House in the middle of London, which was fantastic. I put my name on the ring. I would regret if I hadn't started from London on one of these events. So I did. I put my name in and I actually pulled out a start time in central London, and I'm glad that I did. I turned up and my wave LD was just being called when I turned up, which meant I kind of like registered, went round the back, kind of jumped in the pit for start pen, and we were off. It's as quick as that. And through the first part of the day, riding up through out of London and through into Cambridgeshire and all the rest of it, great fun. A lot of chatting with various people. There was so many different people kind of like not bumping into you physically, but kind of chatting with other riders, sharing a load, kind of working as packs, all the rest of it, which was great. So by the time we got up to North Stowe, which is the first checkpoint, control point, it was settling in. I always knew that kind of like on these events, there's always lots of worries and always lots of niggles, and you've got all these little thoughts in your heads going, did I pack that? Have I got this? Did I put that in the right drop bag? Is someone going to all the rest of it? By the time you get into the ride and you're settled, it's quite nice. You spin the legs and you keep going. So the first part of it was really quite cool. Day passed really easily. It was really quite nice. Cycled up to Boston, I think it was. And then, I don't know whether this was a foretelling for the rest of the event, but I was served the last portion of crumble with custard. And somebody else in the queue, there was a woman, a female, who said, oh, kind of run out of custard. So kind of like, I actually gave up my last crumble and custard to another lady in the queue. So unknown to us, what was going to happen in the future. And then from that, kind of ridden on, got all the way up to Hessel, across the border, across the Humber. It was a nice variation on the routes that we'd done previously. I really appreciated that. Got up to Moulton, and by that point it was around about maybe 1:12, mid 1 o'clock in the morning kind of thing. So I've been on the ride from 6 a.m, before 6, which I thought, right, that's my natural break point. What I'll do is I'm going to take some sleep here because I'm going to be slower during the night. So I took the break at Moulton, slept for a few hours. When daylight appeared, had breakfast, got going again, and ridden on. As the day went on, there was more wind was increasing. There was, I had by this point wet feet because we'd ridden through rain and all the rest of it, but nothing quite untoward or bad at that point. I was just in my element. I was really enjoying it. Again, there's different people chatting to. There was somebody how I met, Bill. Hey, Bill. How's your crashing, by the way? So kind of like lots of jokes and all the rest of it. I kept going, and then by about 11 o'clock, I got up to Richmond. And that's where I stopped, and I actually started to have some food and all the rest of it. And just as I was getting prepared to leave Richmond, that's when Daniel stood on the tables and said, "We are pausing the event. The event is suspended." So that's where I got to, and this is where the Lell story compared to other years changes. As the event was suspended, the update that we had was it's going to be until about 5:30 in the afternoon. That's when we'll get the updates in terms of what the next part, will suspension be released or will go on. The reason for suspension was storm Floris, so there was very high winds. It was gusting up to 60 to 100 across Yad Moss, I think it was, or 80s or so. Those in metric, we're talking about 100 kilometres an hour to 160 kilometres an hour. That's the kind of speed they were doing. So it became dangerous. For somebody like myself at 70 kilos, I know that I'm going to be liable to crosswinds with deeper section wheels and also with the tank and bags and all the rest of it on the bike. But if you're a lightweight female, you would have been flown straight across the road. If you're on a recumbent, because you've got a higher centre of gravity, so the right choice was suspend the ride. As soon as the ride suspended, I thought, right, well, in that case, if we get released later on, if the wind does die down, I want to be fresher. There's no point milling around, wasting energy kind of thing. So I'll go and get some sleep. So I went off, and I was one of the lucky few that got into the sports hall, the mattresses, slept, and all the rest of it. By the time it came to waking up, around 5:30, well, 5 o'clock-ish, the announcement went out that the next announcement was going to be 7:30, not 5:30. So I felt no hurry to get going again. So after that, went and freshened up a bit, went and got some food, milled around, and because my drop bags were elsewhere, I was literally in what I had at that control point. After that, it was a case of hang around, and as I was getting food at 7:30, then the announcement came out from Daniel and the team, kind of like almost repeated around the corner where we were queuing for food, that the event was going to be cancelled. And by that, instead of being suspended, it was too dangerous to go on. When the wind does finally drop, we're going to be so many hours behind that we can't get catering and all the rest of it, and those checkpoints are going to be closing. You're going to be finishing on Saturday or Sunday and not the Friday when everybody is anticipated to finish. So in that case, it came to the point where, well, there's nothing we can do. We can bed down for the night, so we can stay at Richmond. The 7:30 is going to be the event is suspended, but you cannot leave. It sounds slightly draconian that you cannot leave, but the reason for it was the safety. We're under the insurance and all the rest of it of the event. So I completely support what their decision was. Open the window a little bit. And then in that case, so it felt slightly weird. It was full credit to the support staff inside those schools holding the number of people that are holding. At Richmond, I think there was about 850 people within there. I'm jealous of some of those large clubs. I did see a number of the clubs that were ringing out for beer and bringing them into the school and having a sit down and chat a bit. I spoke with some people from the Netherlands. I chatted to some UK people, some French and Italians that I was chatting to. And then it was just kind of, well, the halls are filled, try and find somewhere to bed down. We're not going to be moving that night. Go and find somewhere to sleep. So I slept on the balcony at the entrance to the school on the floor, found a little bit of space, used my stuffed bag as a pillow, close your eyes, get some sleep. The next announcement was going to be the following morning. So in that case, what we did then was I woke up, I heard the announcement was going to be no riders. So the announcement would be about 5 o'clock, or breakfast would be served from 6. And people will be able to leave between 7 and 9. But the instruction was you head south. You'll be stamped as you leave. If you have not got those stamps as you leave, the future control points on the way back down south again wouldn't necessarily support you. you'll be on your own. Again, completely understandable, so I'm happy with that. Had breakfast, left about 8 o'clock, and it was unusual. Instead of being a 1,000 or 1,500 kilometre ride, it now become a 500 kilometre ride, a 20-hour sleep, eats, chats, socialise, be part of the community, and all the rest of it, and then jump back on the bike and another 500 kilometres back to London, but as a more relaxed, because we technically had until Friday to get back, but we didn't need until Friday to get there, so it was slightly different. So after that, I kind of headed south. On the way back, I did meet Whiskey 3, so I think his name's Tom. Hello. Had a brief chat to him as we were riding along, and it seemed fairly coffee ride-ish. It felt kind of, there isn't the time pressure of you against the clock because you got to get there and back all the way up to Edinburgh and back again. It's kind of like, well, 500 kilometres at this rate, we can carry on, just get back as we feel. So yeah, I spoke with Whiskey 3, who is my former number from last time I did Lel. And then as I was coming back through the hills, I got stung on the lip. My face just swelled up at that point. So the first thing I did was, as soon as there was a small country shop, dived in there, took a load of antihistamines, and kept going. I could feel it. I felt like a load of lip filler out here. So I looked a bit like John Merrick. By the time I arrived at Hessel, my lip was not feeling as pressured. I don't know whether that's because my lip was starting to stretch to it and feeling it as compared to that inflation, but the rest of my face was inflating. Which is one of those things, weirdly being stung now 3 times within the past 2 months, when I haven't been stung by a bee or a wasp for years, and I have reacted to it. So that's the way it was. When I got to Hessel, there was, I think Malton or whatever it was, just chatting to them. I made them aware of it, but there's nothing else I could do. So I kind of eat and ride on again. Got down to Hessel, had a slight change of cleat position because of I could feel my ankle would be better, more comfortable. It wasn't bad, but it would have been more comfortable. Chatted to the mechanic there. He loved my laces. I got LGBTQT plus laces. So that's in show of support, is sign of support for my family and various other things. He was bi, but he had a more discreet way of showing it in terms of a tassel on his bag. So we chatted about laces and kind of the topics, which is all part of the fun of it. Then ridden on, got down to Boston. Boston was a bit weird. I got hit there about midnight. My stomach wasn't settled by this point, so I don't know what. I think in hindsight it was some of the dehydration that I kept drinking. I kept taking isotonic sports drinks and all the rest of it on, but it was getting to the point where my stomach wasn't quite settled. Decided to go, well, in that case, my intention was to ride through the nights because I know that section. I know it's dead easy and it's flat and all the rest of it, keep out the heat. So I tried to settle down. It wouldn't settle. I didn't want to go on to the next stage hungry. So I thought, right, I'll take 50 minutes sleep. Bumped into Bill again. He crashed again. Broke his neck. Now on a single speed. And then my stomach didn't really quite settle, but I got some food into me, ridden on through Boston. There was a pop-up check control point, which I thought was brilliant this time. I didn't use them in the previous ones, but this time there was one down at Ponders Bridge. And it had green soup. It's like, what's green? Well, it's anything. It's broccoli, it's peas, it's anything that goes in there. Okay, so I had some of that. By that point, that refreshed me, but it was getting down to about 7 degrees C. This is slight irony because at the moment, in here, well, it's actually not bad to put 25 degrees, but it's been up to about 30 and above degrees. But at that point, it was 7 degrees, so warm soup was pretty good. Got through that, got down towards North Stowe. By then, clothes were starting to come off because it started to get warm again. Ridden through Cambridge. It's always nice to ride through. It's nice to see the buildings and the universities. You see the tourists and all the rest of it. The infrastructure is good. The road surface is shit. It's crap. So rumbled through that bit and then ended up coming down to the last checkpoint where my family were manning the checkpoint. So Anna was doing the check-in on the desk, taking the numbers and doing the administrative bits at the start. My son was doing the teas and the coffees, and he was kind of like owning that job. He was owning it. My daughter was doing the greet at the front door and telling people to take their shoes off and all the rest of it before kind of going in through the process. So I ate watermelon, had a load of fruits, chatted to them for a bit. And then the irony of the last fuck up of the whole ride. So as I got down to the last checkpoint, for some reason my Garmin was not giving me the route that I thought I should be on. So I got to the checkpoint, my Garmin hadn't directed me that way, got to the checkpoint, did the control, set off again, with a group, I lost them, I got lost. You can see on the tracker that my route was completely different to everybody else's. Went for a little tour around Essex before then arriving back at Rittleton to do the finish line, but from the wrong direction. I was enjoying this anyway. So as I was going towards the place, I saw that there was a BP garage, so I thought, right, I'm going to go and stop and get some beer. So I got some beer, put it in my back pocket, so that when I finished, I actually finished London-Floris-London backwards across the finish line with beer in my pocket. So, all right. Then it was the check-in, did the final bits, cards, all the rest of it. It was nice that this year they actually had it so that they stamp your brevet card, but they gave it back to you straight away, rather than kind of having to send it off to France and Paris and all the French people and all the rest of it. They got it straight back. That was nice. Surrendered them with trackers, all the rest of it. Battery banks, brilliant. That was a really good idea. Fantastic. Thank you, Lel, for that. The only other modification I did was I had a Dynamo hubs, which is running a USB charger, and that was running my Garmin. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was a way of not having to stress about battery on that. After that, got to the finish line. Of course, the rest of my family are still volunteering further up the country. So my sister-in-law picked me up from McDonald's. I just kind of like finished the ride. I had my flip-flops on. The flip-flops are brilliant. You got to the checkpoint, you got used to take your shoes off, stick on your flip-flops or sliders or whatever you want to call them, walk into the checkpoint. So when I got to the finish line, I kind of like naturally took off my shoes, slipped on my flip-flops, my sliders, did all my stuff. But when I was wanting to go to McDonald's, I didn't really want to put them back on again. So I strapped across my bike was like my helmet, my shoes with their fancy laces. I had my drop bags over my shoulders. I was wearing sliders and kind of riding to McDonald's. When I arrived at McDonald's, I must have looked like a proper weirdo, but kind of, it was chilled out. It was great. Got there, 3 apple pies, 2 massive chocolate milkshakes for recovery, jumped in the car, then we could go up and rescue my kids from them and go to London and all the rest of it. So that was kind of like the end of the events, but of course it's not the end of the week. So Anna was continuing to do the checkpoint as everybody else was coming through. She saw Ian McBride come through, so she managed to check him in. Ian was the only person to finish London-Edinburgh-London, if you're not aware. He was the only person to have gone the whole route round because he got over Yad Moss before the storm closed the pass, effectively. So the only person to finish it, that was Aidan, who did it the week before in good weather. So once that had gone through, once I'd kind of like picked up my kids and all the rest of it, Anna was still going to be at the checkpoint. She was there for a couple of days more. She was doing all the rest of it so we could track and see what was going on. I was in London. One of the highlights was went into Mile End Park where they've got a play park. It's got a bouncy thing that's kind of like a bucket thing you could sit people into. So me and my daughter were sat in it, bouncing around. I was like a 5-year-old kid just giggling. My body was knackered, but therapy. That's therapy. That was good. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Then kind of the reality of London is I'm not a fan of London. Too busy, too claustrophobic. It's attention grabbing. So kind of eat, food, recover. We looked after the kids while their parents, my nephews, while their parents went off for a weekend. We had some good times in London, but glad to get out of London and back to green space and the rest of it. So that was my LEL, London-Edinburgh-London, or LEL week. Really enjoyed it. Since then, came back, Monday night, and work starts again. Tuesday, went out kind of going, right, I'm going to see how my body works. So I'd kind of gone, I'm going to make this up as I go along. I have got my normal 5 hour on a Tuesday night routine. So I thought, right, I'm going to do a variation of that. Went out and actually I felt great. Although LEL was 2 500-kilometre rides with a 20-hour break between them, I wasn't, when I did, last time I did it, I went out the week after and my body was kind of like, I feel great, red. Sat by the side of the Trent, ate a kebab, felt crap. This time, different circumstances, I felt great on Tuesday night. I felt really good. So did my ride, loved it and really enjoyed it. I still had the LEL set up on my bike effectively because I hadn't stripped it down. Did that, and on the way back I thought, actually last time I'd done these, I've gone and got a kebab. I've got some pasta at home though, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a load of kebab meat, hot chili sauce, yes, all over that. So Tuesday night, eating that near midnight, great. Back to work again. Wednesday. Then this morning, last night I actually had to replace tyres and all the rest of it. So thank you to Jed for the tyres. They'll actually wore through the rubber of the tyres and it got him down to the canvas car because that's below it. So Jed had some spare GP 5000s, so they're now on the bike. The bike's been de-rigged. It's weird. It's the first time in a couple of years that the bike has gone from being the Evoque with the Apiduras and the Dynamo hub and the hydration pack to just being the Evoque. So this morning, took it out, did 60 something K at 6 a.m. and it felt awesome, just chucking it around corners aggressively. Brilliant, just lovely. So that's where I'm up to at the moment. I'm going to see if I can put some captions and graphics and links and all the rest of it. But that's my account of London-Edinburgh-London. I'm sure there's many other accounts, many other people have posted stuff before me, even probably getting bored of this stuff by now. But I think the biggest credit goes to all the supports, the volunteers for the riders who made this work, and also to Daniel, the organizer, who put the whole event on. To see his stress at certain points when kind of like cancelling 2,500 people, 2,000 people who are riding, particularly as they come across from all over the world. Those Asian countries representatives, Malaysia, Japan, South Korea I saw. Then there's the Europeans that were here. I saw people from Brazil that were on board. To halt that event and for Daniel to say, kind of, we're going to do it safely. You could see his stress when we were at Richmond. There was one point when I was down at Louth. I just want to say thank you to him. So I just said thank you. And by the time we got back down to the southern part of it and to the end, you can see Daniel looked a lot more stressed as the finish line just felt like a little party atmosphere. People really enjoyed whatever the Facebook bullshit is about, are we going to get refunds or kind of like what difference does it make and all the rest. Oh, fuck that, a load of crap. The party at the end, just seeing people's faces being relieved that they have ridden and they got back to London, they're having a beer, they're chilled out, that's what it's all about. It's the experience and it's the stories of sleeping on the floor in Richmond, the wind and all the rest of it. That's what London-Edinburgh-London is about. That's what Audax, that's what Randonneuring is about. It's what endurance cycling is about. It's the stories that sit around it. It's not always about the medal to say that you've done the complete distance. It's everything else. Full credit to both Daniel for event organising it, the entire army of volunteers who worked through the nights, worked through the days, making sure that everybody had everything that they should do and everything's in the right place and all the rest of it, especially was when logistics go to shit because there's food in the wrong country or the wrong county or the wrong area. Going back to the crumble and custard, it's been one of the highlights of London-Edinburgh-London. I gave away that bowl of crumble. I don't think I saw another bowl after, because all the crumble's in the wrong locations and the people have just used up all the crumble, all the checkpoints. So we missed out on it. But it's a minor story. I hope that the person I donated my crumble to enjoyed it. So there you go. That's my account. And next week it's going to be something that's completely different because I'm going to be on holiday with running shoes, walking shoes, boots, mountain bikes, wetsuits, all that stuff instead. But that's my account of London-Edinburgh-London. If you got this far through the video, well done. Also, well done to every other rider who ridden London-Edinburgh-London and made it the event it was. It was brilliant. Thank you.